Hi, Lee Brower here. Howdy. And welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am so grateful to be here and so glad to be here. What an amazing week that Lori and I had last week. It was an amazing time. As most of you know, we spent last week in Moab, Utah at a First Descents camp for young adults who are cancer survivors. They may be currently living with cancer. They may be stage 4. They may be in remission. We have all kinds. And what a marvelous experience. We did this 2 years ago on the 1-year anniversary of Nick's passing. And what a cathartic and learning experience that was. An experience that we'll never forget. Such a learning experience from the young adults that were there. This experience taught just as much, sometimes in other ways, but still taught so much. A little background on the camp. This is a mountain climbing camp. The people that came had never done any mountain climbing. So you have young adults, the first thing that happens, they come in and they're given a new name. Everybody has a new name. So my name is Wacky. That came from the previous camp, but you carry it on. Cricket is Lori's name. But other names that were there that you might get a kick out of, there was Honey Bucket, Dickie, Coconut, Boots, Jupiter, Tweeter, Madrona. You had Little Bits and Again and Rainbow, Chamomile, Antelope Jamboree. So you had all these different names coming together, and so that they could leave the past behind. And so let me review with you in this short time just 5 quick things that I take away from that experience. And maybe you may look at it and it might be beneficial for you. No matter what's happening in your life, whether it's trials, struggles, or just plain old ordinary living, are there principles here that we can learn from? I think there are. The first thing that was evident right from the get-go is gratitude. And gratitude was demonstrated in a number of different ways. Because we were climbing mountains, we would belay. And so as I'm belaying, every single time I belayed, no matter what, from the very beginning to the very end, these campers, when they would come down, they would all say, "Thank you for belaying me. Thank you very much." And I thought, wow, they're so grateful. They would ask for advice, and you give them advice. They say, "Thank you for sharing that with me." Or you tell them a story. "Thank you very much for sharing that with me." Every single one of them demonstrated gratitude. And the second thing is no whining, which not the second thing, but this as a part of gratitude. You can't be a whiner and be in gratitude. They don't go together. So here's these young adults, and I'm not kidding you. Just about every single one of them had bloody fingertips, bloody palms from hanging and clinging to the mountain. And we would have to tape them up with athletic tape to kind of reinforce them so that they could climb on the next day. Did they ever complain? Did they ever complain before, during, or after? Not once. Not once. And you know it had to be painful, but imagine what they've been through. They are so much in gratitude for the little things, the ability to being able to get to climb, to be able to use their hands. They're going to complain about blisters on their fingertips after everything they've been through? What about you? What about me? What do we complain about? I know that if we had grabbed up 10 or 15 young adults, brought them into that, we would have had a different experience if they hadn't been through what they've been going through in terms of cancer. And that was a great blessing for us to witness that. The second thing that I noticed that was really important, in Strategic Coach, we have a concept called free days, where you truly disconnect from your work. Well, this is like the free days on steroids. I mean, free days. You totally disconnect from your old life. You're given a new name. You come into this place, and there really is, we're in a beautiful cabin with great cooks, great food. That was Chamomile and Antelope Jamboree. That's what they did. Totally organic, healthy, delicious food. I mean, you couldn't eat this good of food in a top restaurant. You come into that environment, it's completely different. There is no internet, no phone service, nothing like that ties you back to it. And no TV. You're just focused in on yourself and what you're doing. And when you can take a free day when you're in service to others, as Lori and I had the opportunity to be in, those are the best free days ever. They really are. Those are the most rejuvenating, the most thought-provoking, the most growth that occurs in that regard. And I'm so grateful for that. The third thing was the willingness to trust and to really fully surrender, to be vulnerable. It was very difficult for most of them to come in. They carry this mask. They don't want people to know their vulnerability. They're hoping it's not a place that they show up at a talk in a group therapy session and everybody starts crying and that kind of a thing. But in order to grow, they were all carrying something inside of them that they had to kind of get rid of. They were carrying something that they had to deal with, and they don't have anybody to talk to. But you get a room of young adults where they're all having gone through the same similar experiences, where they start talking to each other. Then you get them up on the mountains, climbing and supporting and helping and cheering for and loving each other. Unconditional love for each other. It didn't matter what they looked like, what their personality was like. Everybody supported everybody. In that environment, you open up. And as you open up, you're able to share and you're able to unload and you're able to free yourself up from some of this baggage that you continually claim. And that willingness to be able to surrender and take away and have that some of that baggage was something that was very, very impressive. I asked several of them what scared them the most. I mean, the last day on graduation day, you rappelled down through kind of a hole in the top of this monolith that you just climbed up on several different pitches where we're tied together on parts of them. And you're climbing up, and if you fall one way or the other, you're gonna, there's this edge on both sides of you, and you get up on the top, and then you rappel down over 200 feet, and you drop down into like an amphitheater. So at first you squeeze through a hole, and then you come out, and then there's no place for you to put your feet. Now you're free falling, free rappelling, and you rappel yourself down, you lay yourself down to the bottom, and it's just it's a thrill, but it is scary, and it's a big challenge for them. And so we talked about that, and they said, look, after having cancer, fear wasn't our biggest concern. Maybe fear that we wouldn't be capable to do the things that we were going to be doing, but not the fear in of itself. They said, fear lets you know that you're alive. And that kind of fear lets you know that you're alive. And so the best thing you can do is face it. And then that fear goes away. So anyway, willing to fully commit. The other thing is that they never quit. They would not quit. And you're talking about young adults. In some cases, a few of the young adults were probably well overweight because of the treatments and the lack of exercise and things that they've got. But yet they would challenge the mountain. They would hit it 100%, and there wasn't one person, not one, that quit at any given point in time. There were times when they were clinging to the mountain with their fingertips and sobbing. But then they would just grit their teeth, and then they would go for it, and they would climb, and they would never quit. And that vision of never quitting is going to stay with me probably for the rest of my life, because that was very inspiring. It didn't matter. I was almost ready to quit for them, because I was like, you wanted to help them, but you couldn't. They had to get through it themselves, and they did not want the help. They wanted to get through it themselves. And as we were cheering and encouraging them on, they would bolster up and they would go through it. It was so cool. Finally, joy, just pure joy. And we had one camper who her permanent position, her job that she does, that she enjoys is working in philanthropy in Africa. And a sharp, intelligent, beautiful young lady that said that she hadn't experienced joy. She couldn't remember the last time she had experienced joy. And so being together in this camp to see people truly experience joy and come away from that. We built a family. We called ourselves Bonus Moms and Dads in this regard. We built a new family of individuals that are living with cancer that will stay in touch with each other for the years to come. It was a wonderful experience. I wish all of you could have it. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for making this day a meaningful day. So every Monday has been a meaningful Monday for me, because I've been able to capture the things that have happened the previous week. I am so grateful for that and grateful for you. And I'll talk to you next Monday. Bye-bye.